Vanished in the barren heart. The last trail of Jay Slater. In the shadow of a cruel sun, the park lay silent, vast, cracked, and stretching like an endless sigh into the distance. Once mistaken for a nature reserve full of hidden beauty, this place held a truth much harsher than its name suggested. The locals called it El Seco, the dry one, a patch of arid wilderness carved into the folds of a Spanish island, not far from the fringes of human reach. It was here that Jay Slater vanished. The word park conjures the wrong image entirely. There are no picnic tables, no cheerful signs, no gentle trails winding through trees. This is a land that rejects comfort, a brutal stretch of desert-like terrain with no hint of softness. The soil is pale and dusty, ground down by centuries of sun and wind. The trees, if you can call them that, are wiry skeletons hunched against the wind, and the rocks jut from the earth like broken bones. It's the kind of place where sound dies quickly, no birds, no breeze, just the faint crunch of your own footsteps and the occasional whisper of heat rising from the ground like a warning. Jay was 19. Young, full of laughter and trouble, the kind of boy whose eyes sparkled with the promise of stories yet to be told. He wasn't from this place. He didn't belong to the desert. He came from a green world, where rain kissed the sidewalks and nights were never this quiet. He had flown to Tenerife with friends, chasing sun, music, and the sweet chaos of freedom. But somewhere between the club lights and the sunrise, he found himself drawn toward something else, something far more ancient and silent. The last anyone heard from him was a call. His voice was faint, nearly swallowed by wind and static. "I'm in the middle of nowhere," he said. "There's nothing here." And then silence. Searchers came quickly. Locals, police, hikers with years of experience, drones scouring from above. They combed the ridgelines, followed goat paths carved over generations, and shouted his name into the canyons. But the land gave nothing back. It was as if he had been folded into it, made part of the landscape, like the sun-scorched rocks and withered brush. People underestimate this kind of terrain. The sun doesn't just burn your skin. It cooks your mind. One wrong turn, one misjudged path, and the world warps. The hills all look the same, the cacti blend into the sand, and soon you're walking in circles. Water becomes more than a need. It becomes a memory, a taste you chase until the heat robs you of the will to go on. Out there, without it, you begin to hear things. A whisper behind a rock, the shuffle of a shoe that isn't yours, your own voice calling your name back to you. Rescue teams know this terrain too well. "You'd never want to be here without water," one of them said grimly. He was wiping sweat from his brow, eyes scanning the distance for any sign. A shoe, a scrap of clothing, the shimmer of glass from a phone screen. But even the vultures were absent, as if they too were wary of this place. In their minds, they played through the scenarios. Had Jay followed a trail thinking it led to a road? Had he tried to cut across the ridge, chasing the illusion of civilization on the other side? Had he fallen? Was he still alive, sheltering in the crevice of some ravine, waiting, hoping, dreaming of cold water and a familiar voice? There are places on Earth that swallow people. The desert doesn't scream. It doesn't cry out. It simply receives. Quietly. Utterly. This place, the so-called park, was one of them. Locals whispered legends about the land. That the ground was cursed. That long ago, shepherds would lose whole flocks to the rocky gullies and swear never to return. That some paths only opened under certain moons, and some never closed once you entered them. To the modern ear, it's all folklore. But when you stand in the blistering heat and watch the sun draw jagged shadows on stone, you begin to understand why such stories survive. You feel them in your bones. Jay Slater became a part of the land's story now. Like the mirage that vanishes when you get close, his disappearance left behind more questions than answers. People began to speculate, to search online for theories, for maps, for coordinates. Drones flew farther. Hikers pushed deeper. But the land stayed silent. At night, when the temperature dropped and the wind stirred the dust, you could imagine him walking still, trying to find the way back, eyes squinting against the sun, a phone dying in his hand, thinking he'd crest the next ridge and see lights. Thinking someone would come. The cruelty of it is how close salvation can be in a place like that. A single wrong direction, and you can miss a road by meters. Die within shouting distance of help simply because the land swallows sound. There is no forgiveness here. Only rock and heat and silence. Weeks passed. Then months. Hope faded like footprints in dust. But his family still came. Still walked the trails. Still asked questions. Still searched. Because the land may not forgive, but love does not forget. And so the story remains unfinished. The desert holds its secret close, a grim monument to what can happen when joy turns to tragedy in the space of a single sunrise. Jay Slater's name is now spoken alongside those of other wanderers who vanished in wild places, their fates unknown, their stories half told. The park is still there, still barren, still waiting. And if you ever find yourself on the edge of its silence, stand still. Listen. You may hear the desert breathe, or you may hear the faintest echo of a young man's voice, carried by wind, asking for water, asking for home. Would you like this adapted into a new style report?